Sometimes the scariest thing is not when a clock shows time, but when it suddenly begins a countdown. He found it by chance at a dusty flea market, buried among old coins, rusted knives, and postcards no one wanted. It was a pocket watch, bronze darkened by years, glass cracked in a spiderweb pattern, its face completely blank. No hands, no numbers, only a pale circle inside the case. The seller shrugged, saying it hadn't worked in decades, but something about it drew his eyes, like a quiet gravity. He bought it for almost nothing and slipped it into his pocket, thinking it would make a curious trinket. For days it was nothing more than that, a strange souvenir lying on his desk, catching bits of lamplight. But one evening, walking home through the quiet streets, he heard a soft click, subtle but sharp enough to cut the silence. He pulled the watch from his pocket. For the first time, hands had appeared. Two thin black lines etched onto the pale face, pointing straight up at 12. Then they moved. Slowly, deliberately, they began counting down. 5 minutes. 4 minutes. 3. He froze, heart racing, looking around in panic. At first nothing happened. Then a screech of brakes split the night, and a car skidded at the intersection ahead, missing him by inches. The vehicle slammed into a pole, the driver stunned but alive. He staggered back, clutching the watch. When the crash ended, the hands faded, the face blank again. He tried to convince himself it was coincidence, that the watch was just a broken toy and his mind filled the rest. But the next time it happened, all doubts crumbled. He was in his apartment, boiling water, when the soft click returned. The hands reappeared, this time at 2 minutes. He stared, trembling. At 1 minute, the lights flickered, and just as the countdown reached 0, the kettle hissed, sparks flying, the plug bursting with smoke. If he hadn't pulled away, he might have been electrocuted. Again the hands dissolved, leaving emptiness. The watch was no ordinary trinket. It was a warning. Days turned into weeks, and each time the watch clicked, he felt dread. Sometimes it gave him 10 minutes, sometimes 30 seconds. Once he woke in the night to see the hands at 1 minute. He stumbled to the hallway just as a pipe burst in the ceiling, water pouring into his bedroom, flooding the bed where he had been lying. The watch had saved him, but it also cursed him, because he never knew when it would click again. Never knew how much time he had, never knew what form danger would take. Every sound became suspicion, every shadow a threat. One evening, he tried to test it. He set the watch on the table and waited. Hours passed with nothing. Then, as the clock on the wall struck midnight, the click returned. The hands appeared. 5 minutes. He stared, whispering, "What is it this time?" He searched the apartment, found nothing. 4 minutes. He ran outside, checked the street. Nothing. 3 minutes. He heard footsteps behind him. A man in a hood approached, hand hidden in his jacket. 2 minutes. The man moved faster. 1 minute. He broke into a run, turning corners blindly, the footsteps chasing. At 0, the hooded man lunged, but just then, headlights swept the street, and the attacker bolted into the dark. A passing patrol car slowed, the officer leaning out to ask if he was all right. He nodded weakly, clutching the watch, which was blank again. From that night he understood the truth. The watch did not stop accidents. It did not erase danger. It only told him how long until it arrived. He became obsessed, carrying it everywhere, checking it constantly, unable to sleep without it on the pillow beside him. Friends noticed his exhaustion, his trembling hands, but he could not explain. How could he? Who would believe that a watch with no hands only came alive when death was near? He tried leaving it behind once, locking it in a drawer, but the dread followed him anyway. That night, while walking home, He felt the phantom click in his bones. He ran back, tore open the drawer, and saw the hands already spinning down to 1 minute. He shouted in frustration, threw the watch across the room, but when he turned, the stove was smoking, a towel catching fire. He barely managed to douse it. The watch lay on the floor, face blank again, as if mocking him. He realized he was trapped. To ignore the watch was to invite death blindly. To obey it was to live in fear forever. Each countdown carved deeper into his nerves. The final test came on a winter night. Snow fell heavy, the streets muffled in silence. He was walking home when the click sounded louder than ever before. He pulled the watch from his pocket. This time the hands pointed to 1 hour. His stomach clenched. Never before had it given him so much time. He rushed home, locked the doors, unplugged appliances, checked every corner. 50 minutes. He waited, sweat on his skin despite the cold. 30 minutes. He paced, whispering to himself. 20 minutes. His phone rang, an unknown number. He didn't answer. 10 minutes. He sat on the floor, clutching the watch. 5 minutes. His breath came in gasps. 1 minute. The watch ticked audibly now, echoing through the apartment. 0. And nothing happened. He laughed, broken and shaky, shouting, "You're wrong! You're lying!" But then he noticed the hands didn't fade this time. They reset. Another countdown began. Not minutes, but seconds. 59. 58. 57. His veins froze as he realized it was no longer warning him of accidents. It was counting down to something else, something final. And this time he would not escape. He screamed, tried to smash the watch against the wall, but the bronze refused to break. The glass remained whole, and the numbers ticked on mercilessly. 50. 49. 48. The next morning, neighbors complained about strange noises in the night. But when the landlord opened the apartment, it was empty. The bed unmade. Food still on the table. On the floor lay the old watch, face once again blank, waiting for the next owner to pick it up at the market.